My name is Paul Rink, and I'm the Operations and Communications Administrator for VRE. From the passenger standpoint, I deal with a lot of the customer service issues. Also, a large part of my part in the organization is to work with our contract carrier, Keolis, to make sure that they're doing what we require them to do as part of the contract, but also to ensure that we're getting good customer service, and also dealing with day-to-day operations issues in terms of how we want to handle certain situations or incidents as they occur on the railroad. So prior to COVID, we were carrying upwards of 20,000 plus passengers per day. And once the shutdown occurred, we saw an immediate decline to about 1,500 riders per day. And that remained fairly steady for the year between March 2020 and March 2021. Then in April, we started to see a significant uptick in ridership to where we were running maybe 1,500 people a day to now we're seeing upwards of 1,800 people riding per day, and the trend is still going up. Well, to begin with, the platforms have been marked with circles that are 6 feet apart. So you have a visual cue as to where you can stand if there's people around you. So we're asking everybody to maintain that social distancing for as long as it's possible to do so. Once on the train, we've also marked seats that we are asking people not to sit in so that while on the train, people can remain socially distanced. With the current ridership that we're seeing, most trains are well below 50% capacity to maintain social distancing. So even with the decals on the cars, people are able to maintain much greater than 6 foot distance between each other at this point. So each day we're recording how many riders we have. The conductors do a passenger count every day, and they've always done this, but it's received more focus since the pandemic has affected ridership so deeply. So each day I enter the totals into a spreadsheet, and on a weekly basis, we take those numbers and post them on the VRE website so that passengers can see where most riders, what trains most riders are utilizing at this time. So it's up to date, and we're watching the trends, and that's how we're able to tell which trains have more people on them versus ones that have more open seats available. You go to VRE.org. You'll see along the top banner there's a service information tab. If you hover over that, it'll bring up another menu. And the second from the right is train utilization, and you can just select passenger utilization trends. And that will bring up the graphic charts that show how many people are riding each train, northbound, southbound, for each line. For trip planning purposes, if you have flexibility in the times that you can travel, you can take a look at these charts and see that there are some trains that have significantly more riders than others. On the Fredericksburg line, for instance, in the morning, train 300 is carrying about 35% of capacity, which maintains social distancing, whereas 302 is only a little above 25%. So if you're looking for an early morning trip and you're trying to maintain better spacing, social distancing, 302 would be a little bit better choice than 300 from that standpoint. On this chart, it's based on the maintaining social distance. So we don't count the seats that have the do not sit sticker on them. So 100% on this chart would mean we are at capacity to maintain social distancing. Once we do return to full schedule, we'll have to see how these trends continue, which trains receive more ridership, because right now with the schedule we run, people don't have a whole lot of flexibility into which train they can take. Once we go back to full schedule, you probably see people shifting one train or another, and you can come back to these charts and see with that greater flexibility which trains are carrying fewer people on average.